You're listening to the Broken Havoc podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications.
What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc right here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review Monday Night Raw from March 7th, 2022. Overall thoughts on this show. I thought it really wasn't that good of a show, to be quite honest with you. There are only a very few things that I actually enjoyed on the show, and I was somebody that stated that Raw for the past couple of weeks had some pretty good wrestling. I'm not going to lie, had some pretty good wrestling. This week is no exception. We had some really good wrestling on the show. Of course, the show started off with that fantastic Triple Threat Tag Team Championship match for the Raw Tag Titles. Of course, we had Edge in an amazing segment. And of course, Edge reinvents himself as a heel. Of course, Edge has been a heel before in his career, but in this case, Edge is a different Edge. And it's safe to say that it's pretty badass. But we got a lot of things to talk about right here on the show. Of course, we got Kevin Owens finally calling out Stone Cold Steve Austin, but not for a match. Steve Austin is not coming out of retirement. It's going to be a segment for the Kevin Owens show at WrestleMania. So I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on that as well. But before I get on with the Raw review, make sure to like and subscribe to the Broken Havoc podcast on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Please like and subscribe for more content. And as the frickin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, I got my AEW Revolution review right here up on the channel already. So if you guys haven't checked out my Revolution review, the link will be in the description below. I discussed a lot of things. Revolution was by far one of the best pay-per-views of the entire year, and I honestly think that it's going to be much better than WrestleMania. I think it's going to top WrestleMania, to be quite honest with you. But if you guys haven't checked out my Revolution review, check it out. It's the link in the description below. It's right here on the channel. All right, so we're going to be talking about Raw. Raw overall, it was not really that good of a show, to be quite honest with you. There were, again, very few things on the show that I actually really enjoyed. The wrestling was pretty good. Some of the matches, though, most of the matches, I should say, I really just did not care of whatsoever. We had Finn Balor versus Austin Theory, which, of course, it really doesn't matter. Of course, there was a DQ finish. There was a lot of stuff on the show that I just didn't like, but there were also some things in the show that I did like. Of course, Edge, that segment was amazing. But the show starts off with the Triple Threat Tag Team match for the Raw Tag Team Championships. But before we actually even got to the match, we actually got a video package at the start of the show, basically highlighting the Madison Square Garden live event that happened this past Saturday. Of course, that was where Brock Lesnar faced his mystery opponent, and his mystery opponent was not a surprise. I don't even want to say surprise. It wasn't surprise caliber, and it was not like amazing at all. It was just freaking Austin Theory of all people, which disappointed a lot of people, including myself. I mean, WWE had everybody had everybody be like hyped up for this house show, only to get Austin Theory as as the mystery opponent. And everybody literally expected, somebody like Cody Rhodes to challenge Brock Lesnar for the WWE title. But overall, I mean, the Madison Square Garden show was not really that special, to be quite honest with you. Of course, it was a house show, so it wasn't televised, but there was videos about it on all over social media. So if you guys haven't checked out those videos, check it out. But it starts off with the opening package of what happened at this Saturday's Madison Square Garden live event. But the reason why they kept on mentioning this live event, and I've stated earlier on Raw and SmackDown reviews, the reason why they keep on mentioning Madison Square Garden and that live event is because of the fact that the live event actually was struggling to sell tickets. And, WWE was trying to sell tickets to the show, so they needed to mention it on television and make it a big deal. But did they succeed? Maybe they did. I mean, it was because the video that was uploaded on social media was, I believe, one of the most viewed videos on their social media. So, hats off and congrats to WWE. But to be quite honest with you, the main reason that the show was only mentioned on television was because it was set to sell tickets. If the show had sold a lot of tickets, nobody would care at all. They wouldn't even mention it on television. And it's a pure example of AEW basically taking over the New York market over WWE. Because of the fact that, of course, they outsold the UBS Arena in Long Island. Not only that, Arthur Ashe Stadium and all that stuff. Really, I feel like there's not really a lot of interest in the New York market in WWE right now. But, New York is still the WWE's home. But I feel like AEW definitely definitely, kind of took a little bit of that, away from the WWE with the Arthur Ashe Stadium and also the Long Island market as well. So, but yeah, they showcased Madison Square Garden and all that stuff. But the show officially kicks off with Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins basically cut a promo on how they're going to win the Raw Tag Team Championships, all that stuff. They says also if they win the Raw Tag Team Championships, they will go on to WrestleMania, and that's going to be great for them. Spoiler alert, that did not happen. So we got RK Bro versus Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins versus the Raw Tag Team Champions, the Alpha Academy. And I will say, for the past couple of weeks, these teams have been, wrestling in really good matches. We've seen really good wrestling for the past couple of weeks on Raw, and I will give them that. I mean, there's always great wrestling on WWE television. Really, what pisses a lot of people off is the booking and just, the over-scripting of a lot of promos and just all the bullshit and all the forced aspects of the show that piss a lot of people off. And also because of the fact that WWE loves to insult your intelligence. That's really one of the main reasons as to why a lot of people do not like the current WWE product as well. And this has been a case for many years. And I mean many years. I mean, this is not new. This has been happening for years. But this match, I will say, man, was really good. I love the fact that the show started off with the match that's this hot. I mean, SmackDown this past week started off with Ricochet versus Sami Zayn, which was a fantastic match. It was a great match, and I always advocate, instead of every week WWE starting off with a segment, because if you watch AEW Dynamite, and yes, I will be comparing Dynamite to Raw and SmackDown. If you watch AEW Dynamite, for most weeks, almost every week, very few weeks they will start off with an opening segment, but for most weeks, they always start off really hot with a great match. And WWE really needs to utilize that. If you really want to get the crowd amped up, start off with a really hot match, in my opinion. I think you can get the crowd amped up, and you can bring interest to the show. But, I mean, really, after this match, I should say, the show kind of went downhill, in my opinion. But we had RK Bro versus Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins versus Alpha Academy. Again, it was a great match. I definitely loved what I saw here. The match starts. We get a super kick by Rollins on Gable. Rollins then goes for his sling blade. We get a cover and a 1 count. KO tags in. We get a double team by Rollins and KO. KO is in control over Riddle. Riddle fights back with a couple of kicks. Kevin Owens then goes for a DDT. We get a cover and a near fall. We get a couple of chops by KO. Riddle is on the outside. Gable then suplexes Riddle onto the outside. We get a waistlock by Gable on Kevin Owens back inside the ring. Then Kevin Owens goes for an enziguri. He goes to the top for a splash, and then we get an elbow drop combination. So it was a splash and elbow drop combination by Kevin Owens. Really unique by Kevin Owens. I really haven't seen him do that in a while. I don't even think he did that. He always went for like splashes and shit and a frog splash. We get a cover and a 1 count. We get a chop by Kevin Owens. Rollins then tags in. Rollins then slides Gable face first to the mat. We get a senton by Kevin Owens. We get a cover and a near fall. Rollins then takes Gable to the middle turnbuckle. We get a shot to the back of Gable. Then Riddle comes back. Then we get a springboard crossbody by Rollins on both Riddle and Chad Gable. Rollins then takes Riddle to the corner. KO then goes for a cannonball on Riddle. Then we get an enziguri by Kevin Owens on Gable. Gable and Riddle are on the outside. Rollins goes for a suicide dive. Then he takes Gable back into the ring. Then after that, Kevin Owens goes to the top and hits a beautiful senton. We get a cover and a near fall. Once we're back from break, Otis is the legal man and he takes out everybody. He throws Rollins to the outside. He sends Riddle to the corner. He works on Riddle. We get a splash by Otis. We get a cover and a near fall when Otis takes Riddle back up. So he basically stops his own pin attempt. So we get a double team attempt by the Alpha Academy. We get a cover and a near fall. Gable at this point is the legal man. He works on Riddle with a leg lock. Otis then tags in. Riddle then tries to tag in, but then Otis takes him back. Otis then goes to the top. He misses a splash. At this point, the hot tag is made after that. Then Orton works on Gable. Orton then goes for a power slam. Then he goes for a power slam on Rollins. And then he takes out Kevin Owens from the apron. Then he's about to DD Chad Gable, but then Rollins comes in and interferes. But instead, Randy fights back and then takes Rollins as well to the middle rope and hits a double DDT after that. Then Gable counters the RKO with a leg lock. Rollins then misses the stomp. He hits the RKO on Rollins. We get a cover and a near fall when Kevin Owens comes in. Then Randy Orton slams Kevin Owens to the announce table. And then he slams Gable to the announce table. And then he tries to slam Otis, but then his tag team partner Riddle comes in and helps him, and then both double suplex Otis onto the announce table, and I'm really shocked that announce table did not break. That was kind of weird. But then we go to commercial break, and once we're back, we get a roll-up by Riddle and Gable. We get a near fall, and then we get a kick by Riddle. Riddle then goes to the top. Then Riddle goes for a floating bro. We get a cover and a near fall when KO interferes. Then the bro mission is applied by Riddle. Kevin Owens then counters the senton, dropping Riddle to the mat. Randy is legal. Both Kevin Owens and Randy Orton fight it out. We get a backbreaker by Randy. We get a cover and a near fall. Otis then comes in and enters the fray and power slams Randy Orton. Otis then tags in. He goes to the top. Gable tags in. We get a splash by Otis. Gable then goes for a moonsault. We get a cover and a near fall when Rollins interferes. Rollins then sends Otis shoulder first to the post. Gable goes to the top. Rollins then comes in. We get a chop by Rollins. He goes to the top. Then Gable fights back. Rollins then gets pushed off, but then Gable escapes and then goes back on the apron, but then he goes back to the top. Then Rollins wants to superplex Gable, but then Kevin Owens comes in. And then Otis comes in, and then a whole Tower of Doom happens, and then Otis basically drops everybody dead center to the ring, and I believe Rollins actually succeeded in suplexing Chad Gable during that moment. Then Riddle comes in, a brawl breaks loose. Once we're back from commercial break, Riddle picks up Otis and drops him neck first onto his knees. Then Riddle goes to the top, but then Rollins comes in. Rollins goes for the stomp from the top on Riddle. We get a cover by Rollins and a near fall. Rollins then gets caught into a triangle submission by Riddle after that. Riddle then applies the armbar. Then Gable comes in out of nowhere. He hits a German suplex on Randy. Then he German suplexes Rollins. Then we get a rolling German on Riddle. Then after that, we get a rolling German. Not a rolling German. Then he suplexes Riddle, Then Gable goes back to the top. He tries to hit the moonsault, but then lands into the RKO, which was definitely 100% a markout moment in the entire match. That was amazing. You know, he hits the freaking moonsault off the top. He goes to the top, he hits the moonsault. And then once he does his moonsault flip, he lands into an RKO. I mean, that gives me flashbacks of when Evan Bourne, when he wrestled Randy Orton back on that episode of Raw back in 2010. If you guys may recall, he hit that shooting star press and then he fell into an RKO. But I don't know, I felt like that was more deadly, but this was really badass. I loved that. But after that, we get a super kick by Kevin Owens on Orton. Then by Rollins, he hits a super kick on Otis. Then Rollins picks up Otis and hits the buckle bomb. Actually, no, he takes Gable. My apologies. He takes Gable and hits the buckle bomb. And then Kevin Owens goes for the stunner. And then Rollins goes for the stomp. Great tag team chemistry by both Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. I really enjoyed that. But Kevin Owens and Rollins get taken to the outside. So after they hit that triple combination, they get taken to the outside. And then Riddle comes in with the cover and RK Bro win the Raw Tag Team Championships. Alpha Academy are no longer the champions, and Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins were stolen a victory in the end. Overall thoughts on this match. This was a great match. I definitely enjoyed it. Again, Raw for the past couple of weeks has had some great matches, even though they were rematches and you just are tired of seeing the same old, and definitely I'm tired of seeing the same shit over and over again. I'm not going to lie. We had some great matches on Raw for the past couple of weeks, and it's safe to say Raw has gotten a little bit better. I'm not going to say it's the amazing thing. It's like it became an amazing show, because it's really not. SmackDown has taken the cake as by far the worst wrestling show of the week. SmackDown sucks. Okay, SmackDown is garbage. But yeah, man. Overall, this was a fantastic opener, fantastic match. You know, they were hyping up this triple threat match for the past couple of weeks, of course, when RK Bro and Riddle won that. I believe it was a tag team match a couple of weeks ago. I don't recall. But it was a great match. I definitely enjoyed it. The chemistry with all the teams, and the chemistry with Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins were great. But, of course, RK Bro gets interviewed after that. Riddle says that this victory means that they're going to WrestleMania. And then Randy says that he's been doing this for over 20 years, and he's never had so much fun as he is doing right now in this ring. He means that from the bottom of his heart. And he says that he's going to say the F word, but no, it is not fuck. It is going to be saying that Riddle is his friend. He says that he doesn't have any other friends than Riddle. And yeah, not only that, Rollins actually walks off with that pissed off look in his face. So I don't want to say there's going to be tension within Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, because that is not going to be the case at all. It's not going to be that, because I think they're going to go their separate ways at WrestleMania, because especially after what we saw at the end of the show where Kevin Owens called out Stone Cold Steve Austin, but we'll talk about that later on in the entire show. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. What do you do to follow up a fantastic tag team match? What do you? I'm asking you that. What do you guys would follow up on after a fantastic tag team match? Another great match? Nope. You follow up with a 24/7 championship match, and that's what they did here. WWE had the balls to literally follow a great tag team match with Tamina versus Dana Brooke. Nothing personal against these two women, but like, really? Tamina versus Dana Brooke? That's what you follow up on? That is ridiculous. I'm sorry. That is such a stupid decision, man. You know, small things like that literally piss me off. I'm like, really? You follow up a great tag team match with that. Come on, it makes absolutely no sense. And we get a 24/7 championship match, which makes no sense. I mean, look, it's a 24/7 championship match, but apparently, like, the rules are lifted. So for this match to take place, but the championship is called the 24/7 championship for a reason. Small things like that make absolutely no sense. And, this whole thing with Reggie and Dana Brooke, it's a little bit entertaining, but let's be straight up. I mean, this whole 24/7 shit has been going on since 2019. It is 2022, and we're still getting segments like this. And I'm starting to sense a pattern in which I constantly see, right after like the first segment or the first match, we see a 24/7 championship match. It's always like on the second segment of the show. Like, I don't know why. I don't know if that's just me or my mind's playing tricks on me, but like still, it's like the same formula every single week. Like, you can't do that. You gotta do things different sometimes every week. And this whole 24/7 championship match is not important whatsoever. But we get a clothesline by Tamina. We get repeated rights by Tamina. She throws Dana Brooke like a rag doll. Then Dana gains control. Tamina applies the Boston Crab. Then Dana reverses with the roll-up. Dana Brooke retains the 24/7 championship. And after that, Tozawa grabs the mic and says that Dana Brooke cheated, which makes no sense. He's a great wrestler, and he doesn't know how wrestling works. Then he calls Tamina the love of his life. He wants to kiss her, but then Tamina does not. Tamina's about to leave, but then she gives him an air kiss, like that. And great. I don't care at all. Whatever. I'm not interested at all. Vince McMahon loves these types of segments. You constantly see it all the time, every year. You always see these types of segments when it comes to Vince McMahon. He loves these types of segments. We get a backstage interview with Seth Rollins, and he does not answer anything. And I will say this, man. I'm going to say this right now. These backstage interview segments, or these backstage segments, WWE really needs to change the way that they do their backstage segments. I'm not interested in them whatsoever. They're so forced, and this is a common occurrence. And I say this all the time, but they're so forced. The camera work is just whatever, it's just there. And not only that, it's just not. To me, I don't know, man. If you watch AEW backstage interviews, I feel like they feel a little more real than you watch WWE backstage interviews. That is just me. I'm not saying that WWE should incorporate the way that AEW does their backstage interviews, but I just do not like the way that they utilize backstage interviews. That is just me. But, Seth Rollins is asked ridiculous and stupid questions from these backstage interviews. And I'm not going to lie, man. Throughout this entire show, these backstage interviews are asking the most dumbest questions ever, the most disrespectful questions ever. Oh, what are your thoughts on not going to WrestleMania? What kind of question is that? It's so retarded. It's so dumb. Seth Rollins, no comments, and he looks pissed off. All right. We got The Miz and Logan Paul. Of course, they're in Cleveland, Ohio, so Miz is over in his hometown. It's so weird. So throughout this entire promo, Miz basically puts over his hometown, but then later turns on it, which makes no sense. I mean, I know he is a heel, but it makes no sense. I mean, why don't you embrace throughout the entire segment your whole hometown? That's what MJF did with CM Punk. His hometown of Long Island absolutely shit on CM Punk throughout the entire show. And MJF was treated like a god in Long Island. But now it's just Miz just instantly turns on his hometown. I mean, that's kind of dumb. But Jerry Lawler comes back. Jerry Lawler is a special guest on the show, so that's great to see. Miz is in his hometown of Cleveland. Miz is over, of course. The fans chant Miz, 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 and says that it's the sound of respect. Says Cleveland is awesome. Then he talks about Logan and him hitting the Mysterios with the skull-crushing finale. He introduces Logan Paul. Logan says it's good to be home. He is honored to be his tag team partner. He's honored to be at WrestleMania and is honored to be back home in the state of Cleveland, or in the city of Cleveland, I should say, not the state. My dumbass. State is Ohio. He has nothing but respect for his city. Miz says that he is successful himself. Miz says Ray gave him, Ray gave his son a contract, and everything Ray has accomplished, he accomplished. Says he is cheered, but he is booed, besides Cleveland, of course. And he asks, who would you rather see, a father and son tag team or two pop culture icons? I'm going to give you my answer right now, Miz. I as much as I love the Mysterios, I wouldn't want to see them. I don't even want to see Logan Paul as well. You know what I want to see? I want to see real tag team wrestling. We just had great tag team wrestling this past Sunday at Revolution. You might have missed the pay-per-view, but hey. Okay, I'm kidding. Call me a show, whatever. I don't care. The pay-per-view is just amazing. He introduces Jerry the King Lawler. Jerry is over. Jerry is really over. And it's great to see Jerry Lawler back. I was talking about Jerry Lawler on my Old School Showcase Vengeance review, which, by the way, I haven't done Old School Showcase for the past couple of weeks, and I was supposed to do TNA Turning Point, and I will do that, but I haven't done that. So, right now, because I'm really busy with a lot of stuff, but I will definitely come you guys with the next episode of Old School Showcase. Do not worry. But Jerry is over. He thanks the city of Cleveland. He talks about how he goes way back with Cleveland. Says that he wore this Browns jersey, and then he says that they were, he talks about how the Browns won the NFL championship back in the day, and he's looking at the Miz standing by that WrestleMania sign, and he asks Cleveland, the city of Cleveland, about having a WrestleMania in Cleveland, Ohio. Then the Miz says it's a great idea, but he doesn't think so. He loves the city of Cleveland, but it isn't their WrestleMania city. He gets pissed and says that he doesn't live here anymore. The same reason why, the Browns, the same reason why they would host Super Bowl, the same reason why they won't host a Super Bowl is the same reason why they won't host a WrestleMania. And says that they will leave and go win at WrestleMania, and then they all leave, and then the segment ends. Overall, I just do not care about this segment whatsoever. Great. Am I excited for Logan Paul and The Miz taking on the Mysterios? No. It would have been much better. I was actually looking up, match cards, the WrestleMania match card, like fan-made match cards, and one person uploaded, they should do the Mysterios wrestling against each other, like the Miz versus Dominic. That'd be an awesome match. If instead of doing this crappy match, why don't you showcase your roster and have an interesting dynamic with father versus son at WrestleMania? I mean, I would love for that, in my opinion. That'd be great, but we're not going to get that. All right. The Street Profits are backstage, and here, proves my point on the interviews asking really stupid questions. They ask about not being on the WrestleMania card and says that they are the next in line. Great. We get Braun Breaker, the NXT champion Braun Breaker, who he dropped the title to Dolph Ziggler last night, which I did not watch NXT. I never watch NXT because I'm not invested in, I'm not interested in NXT. But Braun Breaker lost the NXT championship last night on NXT, I heard, to Dolph Ziggler. Yes, Dolph Ziggler is the new NXT champion. Talk about that later on. But we got Braun Breaker and Tommaso Ciampa. Braun Breaker's first appearance on Raw. It's great to see Braun Breaker on Raw. One of the aspects of NXT 2.0 that I like is Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker is going to be a guaranteed success on the main roster. Not only that, hopefully they change his name to Rex Steiner because that's his name, and he's a Steiner. All right? And he resembles a lot his father and his uncle. All right. So we got Braun Breaker and Tommaso Ciampa versus Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. Braun Breaker and Roode start, both lock up. Roode goes for a side headlock. Braun picks up Roode. We got a delayed vertical suplex by Braun Breaker. Ciampa tags in. We got a chop by Ciampa. We got a running clothesline. Then we got a cover and a near fall. We got a side headlock by Ciampa. Then Ciampa fights off the Dirty Dogs, which is a shitty name, by the way. Then we get a spine buster by Roode. Ziggler makes the tag. He tries to tag Breaker, but then Breaker escapes. Breaker and Roode then go to the outside to recuperate, which is really dumb. I mean, they're the baby faces, and they're the ones that are going to go out to recuperate. If anything, the heel should do that. It makes no sense for the baby faces to do that. But we go to commercial break, and once we're back from break, and one thing during this match that I will say that pisses me off so much, man. I didn't watch NXT, when it was popular. I didn't watch a lot of NXT. But, bro, Tommaso Ciampa is a veteran, right? And they're treating this as Tommaso Ciampa is he's earlier on in his WWE career, and he's oh my God, he must be nervous. He must be oh my God, he do you think butterflies are going to be some shit like that? They're saying some dumb things like that. They're treating Tommaso Ciampa as a rookie, and I'm Tommaso Ciampa is no rookie whatsoever. So why, I don't know why they're doing that. It makes no sense. Braun Breaker is a rookie, but Tommaso Ciampa is not. Tommaso Ciampa is a veteran, okay? Once we're back from break, Ziggler goes for a drop kick. We get a cover by Ziggler into near fall. Roode then tags in. We get a double team back elbow by the Dirty Dogs. Then we get a knee by Roode. We get a cover into near fall. We get a jumping knee by Ciampa. At this point, the hot tag is made. Braun goes after the Dirty Dogs. We get a belly-to-belly suplex. He takes out Roode. Then we get a spinebuster reversal by Braun Breaker. Braun then runs into a knee by Ziggler. Then he picks up Dolph, but then Roode comes in. We get a roll-up by Dolph, and we get a near fall. Dolph then sends Braun shoulder first to the ring post. And then we get a cover into near fall when Ciampa makes the save. Then Ciampa takes out Roode. Braun then blocks a super kick, and then Braun Breaker picks up Ziggler and hits a power slam. We get a cover by Braun Breaker, and they win the match. And then Dolph gets the microphone after that. And he congratulates them, and he loves how they worked so well as a team. And he talks about tomorrow night, technically last night, and says that the second he will turn his back on him, that's where his world crashes. And he talks about winning the NXT Championship, which, spoiler alert, he did win the NXT Championship. I have to go back and watch the match because I didn't watch it. I don't watch NXT every week, and I just do not care. The main reason why guys like Dolph Ziggler are on the show is because they're trying to build, they're trying to, bring up the ratings for NXT 2.0. But, I see a lot of people on Instagram, not on Instagram, on Twitter, comparing the Rampage numbers to NXT. And I think that's completely hypocritical because of the fact that, Dynamite was the same show that beat NXT repeatedly. So, and the original version of NXT actually did higher numbers than NXT 2.0. So the fact that they're comparing the Rampage numbers to NXT is completely hypocritical, in my opinion. That's just me. And I don't even watch NXT, and I know that. That is dumb. And, call me an AEW drone, whatever the hell you want. I don't care. I like both the WWE and AEW. I'm just telling the truth. It just makes no sense for people to just compare the Rampage numbers to NXT. Like, bro, Dynamite went head to head against NXT, and Dynamite won. It was not even a freaking war. It was an imaginary war that the fans made up. But still, I'm just telling the truth. We get a backstage interview with Omos, and he's talked about not being on the WrestleMania card. And Omos talks about how he's going to take that WrestleMania moment. We got Omos versus Apollo Crews. Omos points at Commander Aziz. We got a drop kick by Crews, but then Omos goes straight for the offense. Omos then applies a submission. He throws Crews to the outside. Omos then takes him back to the ring. He throws him into the corner. We get an enziguri by Crews. He goes to the top. He tries to go for the double sledge, but then gets caught by Omos. Then he plants him to the mat. We get a cover, and Omos goes over for the pin. And overall, great. They're building Omos like this crazy-ass monster. And then both Omos and Commander Aziz face off with one another. So I would assume that Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz are now the baby faces. But most likely we're going to be seeing a match with Commander Aziz and Omos next week on Raw. And Omos is going to go over. Great, whatever. I do not care. I don't know why, man. When it comes to big men, I mean, we saw at Revolution. We saw Keith Lee, we saw Wardlow, and we saw Powerhouse Hobbs, and everybody went apeshit for that. But when you watch a WWE show and you watch, two giants face off, I think we saw, people like Omos and Shanky. I think it was at the Royal Rumble. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was those two guys. Or other people. I don't remember. No, but there was no reaction whatsoever. You want to know why there was no reaction? It's because of the fact that nobody cares, and not only that, the shows were just that damn bad. And not only that, the Royal Rumble was kind of boring, even though the right decision was made. But, Omos, they're building up Omos like this crazy-ass monster. Am I excited? No. I just do not care whatsoever about Omos. I'm sorry. All right. Here's one thing that I actually really enjoyed about the show, and this was amazing. I don't care what anybody says, man. I'm going to talk about this later on, but, this Edge segment, I'm going to talk about Edge, me possibly wanting, a WWE title run with Edge and why I think it's the right decision to make. But this Edge segment was amazing. This Edge segment was amazing, in my opinion. I really enjoyed this segment. It was really entertaining. Not only that, it was something different. It was really something different. And really, we haven't seen heel Edge in a long ass time. The last time we saw heel Edge was 2009, or maybe 2010. But technically, I think, no, it was 2009. That was really where we saw the true heel Edge. But this is a different heel Edge. I think this is a more, solo-based heel Edge, because back when Edge was here in 2006, of course, he had Lita. 2007, in 2008, he had the whole Vicky Guerrero thing and the Edgeheads. And, really, now he's kind of on his own as a sole heel. Now, granted, solo, he was always a great heel, even before now. But, I love the fact that we finally got heel Edge on this show, and this shows it. But we get the Edge segment. He comes out in a badass heel way. So he comes out to his theme song, Metalingus, right? But then the lights go out, and then the music goes out. I think the music goes out. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the lights go out. And it's kind of like this Undertaker type color, when he walks out. And he takes his time before he begins his promo. He asks the crowd, "You think you know me?" which is pretty good. Then he says, clearly AJ Styles does not. He knows that he's at home now and says that he should put the kiddos to bed because what he did last week, he did for him. He did it to help him. He wanted to face him at WrestleMania. And he talks about how he needs the best version of AJ Styles, the flesh-tearing pitbull. And he talks about how he helped him, but ironically, it helped him too. And says that it was like his brain cracked open and let him be the, it's like his brain cracked open and let the real him flee to fly, and it felt so good. It was him that he never met before, a him that has fallen in love with, and he feels control of everything that will happen in this ring and what will happen to this entire industry. AJ is standing. He tells AJ that he is standing on the mountains upon mountains, and the view is phenomenal. So it's a really short promo by Edge, but it was a fantastic promo by Edge. This version of Edge, I am loving. It is a great promo. I love it. It's great. This is something that WWE really needs. It's really something different. It's still Edge, and he's a veteran. He's a part-timer, but it's still something different. And I don't care what anybody says. You may call me hypocritical. I do not give a single shit. I honestly want Edge to win the WWE Championship. I really want Edge, this version of Edge, to win the WWE Championship. Why do I say that? Edge is a part-timer, you might ask. Edge is a part-timer, But here's the difference. Edge doesn't just appear, only during Saudi Arabia shows like Goldberg does. Well, Goldberg just comes in during Saudi Arabia and that's it. He dwindles off. And, Edge kind of dwindles off as well, but he makes a little more appearances. But with Edge turning heel, I honestly believe that, to me, I think it is setting the stage for, a heel Edge run. I think, him winning the WWE Championship is perfect for him. Not only that, Edge, yes, he is a part-timer, but he's not the type of wrestler that is just only doing it for the money. I honestly believe that Edge really gives a shit about the business. He cares a lot about the business. And I feel like if he does win the WWE Championship down the line, because we all know that title unification is not really a title unification. It's a title for title match that the titles are eventually going to be, split off again. It's kind of like a similar situation with the women's titles a couple of years ago. Becky, lost the lost the SmackDown Women's Championship. But, again, the titles are not going to be officially unified. It's not going to be one championship. It's going to be two championships. And Edge, to me, is the perfect man, to win the WWE title. And he can have really good matches with guys like Kevin Owens, with guys like, many guys on the roster, maybe guys that, we haven't seen before. Maybe young guys on the roster we can see. Not only that, I feel like, Edge and AJ Styles can have a fantastic trilogy on WWE television. I think they'd have really good main event matches for the world title, in my opinion. I saw one tweet on Twitter. I forgot who his name was, but it was a great tweet. That, Edge would be the mystery opponent for Brock Lesnar, and Edge would actually beat Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. And then the match would be Edge versus AJ Styles for the WWE title. As much as I would have loved to see that, I mean, it kind of kills off the momentum of the biggest WrestleMania match ever, the way that WWE is marketing it, because of the fact that the match is title for title. So it really wouldn't make sense. But again, this version of Edge, I would love to see, him winning the WWE Championship. He'd have really good matches with a lot of young guys on the roster. Not only that, I think he'd put over a lot of guys. The point of Edge being, a heel is to really get over a lot of people. And I feel like, AJ Styles, I mean, he's a multiple-time WWE champion, so the guy's fine. But still, again, I think, AJ Styles should not be in a tag team with Omos, and I'm glad that he is not. And he is, right now back in his singles run. I would love to see this match, this whole feud continue on after WrestleMania for the WWE Championship. And I feel like with Edge being a heel now, even though he is a part-timer, I think he's going to make a lot of guys look good on the current roster. I think he's going to make a lot of full-timers on the roster look good. And, it's another chance for you to build up a big name that can dethrone Edge if he ever won the WWE Championship. But that is just me. I honestly believe that a WWE Championship run for Edge is great. Not only that, I mean, Edge is the type of guy that, Edge never wanted to retire. He was forced to retire. So, I mean, call me hypocritical, whatever you want to say, but honestly, to be quite honest with you, I definitely believe that Edge 100% should win the World Championship, and he's going to have great matches. And not only that, he's going to, to me, he's just going to put over a lot of guys, because Edge is not the type of wrestler that would just do shit only for himself. I think that'd be really hypocritical for Edge, but Edge has proven he really doesn't do that. I mean, look at the feud that he had with fucking Seth Rollins, of all things. He had a fantastic feud with Seth Rollins, but that's just me. I honestly want an Edge title run. That is just me. I definitely see that being the case. But again, heel Edge is by far the best version of Edge. We get a backstage segment with Kevin Owens. He's asked about not having a path at WrestleMania, which is a dumb question. And he says the feeling, he had at the tag match, he says he never wants to feel that again. He won't have to. He has an epiphany. He has an idea. That idea is going to change his entire WrestleMania future, and says that he has a plan. He's going to share that plan later tonight. We got Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley versus Carmella and Zelina Vega, a match that I just do not care about whatsoever. The women's tag team championships are a complete joke. Carmella and Liv Morgan lock up. Liv then sends Carmella to the corner. Rhea tags in. We get a drop kick by Rhea Ripley on Carmella. We get a cover and a near fall. We get a couple of knees by Rhea. Then Zelina Vega tags in. Rhea then picks up Zelina. Then she boots Carmella. We get a Zelina Vega then escapes. Then Zelina tries to make the tag, but then Rhea holds on. We get a tornado DDT by Queen Zelina, landing Rhea to the outside. Then on the outside, Carmella goes for, she kicks Rhea Ripley. Once we're back from break, Zelina is in control. Carmella tags in. She takes out Rhea Ripley. We get a cover into near fall. Carmella then applies the chin lock. We get repeated. No, not repeated. Rhea fights back. Carmella then gets back control. Rhea then goes for a high kick. At this point, the hot tag is made. We get an enziguri by Liv. We get a shotgun drop kick. And then she goes to the top. Hits another shotgun drop kick. We get a cover and a near fall. Zelina then goes for a drop breaker. We get a roll up by Liv and we get a near fall. Zelina then wants to make the tap, but then Carmella is with Corey Graves, flirting with Corey Graves. Of course, they're a real life couple. And then Liv drops Zelina with a knee. A tag's made by Rhea. She hits the riptide and we get a cover. And Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan win the match. Overall, great match, but I just did not care about it whatsoever. And they will now enter the Women's Tag Team Championship match. So it will now be Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan versus Sasha Banks and Naomi versus Carmella versus Zelina Vega at WrestleMania, which I did not know was a number one contenders match, so it makes no sense. But to me, I mean, out of all positions that you can put Sasha Banks in at WrestleMania, you put her in a Women's Tag Team Championship match. That's a dirty way to play at Sasha Banks, man, in my opinion. Sasha Banks is so talented that you put her in a match like that. She should be put in a high-profile match at WrestleMania, but instead, you put her in this crappy match. Come on now, man. All right, we got Finn Balor versus Austin Theory. This was not a bad match, but the match ended in a DQ, of course. Finn Balor and Damian Priest are still going to be feuding. Of course, Austin Theory is in the middle of a feud with Pat McAfee, and we saw that this past Friday on SmackDown, and it's going to be, I'm not going to lie, I'm actually really excited for that match. Austin Theory, Pat McAfee, I should say. Pat McAfee is great at what he does. And his genuine reaction from Austin Theory this past Friday was amazing. It was hilarious and just amazing. But the match starts. We got a side headlock by Balor. We get a shoulder tackle by Austin. Theory is in control. We get a stomp by Austin. We get a cover and a near fall. Theory then goes for a chin lock. We get a right hand by Theory. Theory is in control. Theory goes for a sunset flip. And then he hits a shotgun dropkick counter. We get a shotgun dropkick counter by Balor, I should say. Balor's in control. Both are on the outside. Theory then picks up Balor, and Balor escapes and hits a sling blade on the outside. Once we're back from commercial break, Theory goes for a rolling. His amazing, and I'm not going to lie, man, this is an awesome-ass move. It's such a badass move, but it's amazing. He hits a rolling shotgun dropkick, and Theory has been doing this a lot in his matches for the past couple of months. We get a cover and a near fall. We get a side headlock by Theory. We get a near by Theory. Balor then fights back. We get a takedown by Balor. We get a double stomp. We get a chop by Balor in the corner. We get a roll-up by Balor. Balor then goes for repeated stomps. He tries to suplex Theory from the apron. Austin then goes for Austin hits a stomp. Then he suplexes Balor. Balor reverses it, but then Theory hits an elbow. We get a neck breaker by Theory. We get a cover engineer fall. Theory then picks up Balor for the ATL, but then Balor counters. We get a shotgun dropkick by Balor. Then Damian Priest out of nowhere throws Balor off and causes a disqualification finish. Then Priest picks up Balor and plants him to the mat. Then after that, Austin Theory picks up Balor and hits the ATL, and that ends. Overall, great match, shitty finish. We really haven't seen, we would see a couple of DQ finishes there, but I felt like WWE in a way kind of dimmed down the DQ finishes. I mean, I can remember so many times last year where we had like three DQ finishes like in a row. Like, that is insane. But we didn't really get, this is the only DQ finish apparently on the entire show. Everything else were just clean finishes, which is great. But we're going to see Finn Balor and Damian Priest continuing on to feud. Hopefully Damian Priest's heel run can be good. I don't want anything when it comes to Damian Priest to be anything forced, because to be quite honest with you, Damian Priest, himself, like, he can literally, he is a badass, right? That's his whole gimmick. But WWE has really made it so cheesy, in which, he has this dark side of him. Like, it's such a lame thing to do when it comes to Damian Priest. But hopefully the feud is going to be great. I definitely do see a match with Finn Balor and Damian Priest at WrestleMania for the U.S. title. And I stated last week that the United States Championship is more important. And I still think it is. Granted, we're no longer going to see Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn. But, to be quite honest with you, I mean, like, You know what? I'll give it a shot. I'll give Damian Priest's heel run a shot. Austin Theory, of course. I thought that like Pat McAfee of all things was gonna like interfere in this thing, but no, he's not. But Theory, of course, he's gonna be feuding and he's gonna wrestle Pat McAfee at WrestleMania. We get a backstage segment with Bianca Belair. Talks about hitting Becky with her last week, and says that she will beat Becky Lynch at Mania to become the Raw Women's Champion. In our final segment of the entire night, we have Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens has an idea. Says that he does not have a match at WrestleMania. He says he found a way to get there. He wants to have the most stupendous Kevin Owens show at WrestleMania. And says that who he can invite. He talks about the people, or the wrestlers, I should say, from Texas. JBL? Hell no. Booker T? Hell no. Shawn Michaels? He's a proud Canadian, but it would be sacrilegious to have him on the show because, he is a Bret Hart fan. That was actually pretty funny. That was actually a really funny line by Kevin Owens. But he has the perfect guest in mind. And he calls out Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yes, Stone Cold Steve Austin is not is announced for WrestleMania, but he's not going to be wrestling. Now, there were previous reports that WWE has wanted Steve Austin to come out of retirement for a match at WrestleMania. And this is my thoughts on that. As much as I really want Steve Austin to come out of retirement, it's too little too late. Not only that, it kind of, would diminish his entire legacy, in my opinion. The reason why I say this is because the only reason why they asked Stone Cold Steve Austin to come out of retirement is because they need to sell tickets for WrestleMania. And WWE at this point is getting desperate for WrestleMania. I mean, they're struggling to sell tickets. If you compare the ticket sales for WrestleMania 32 and this year's WrestleMania, it's like night and day. It's ridiculous. But to be quite honest with you, I'm glad that, they're not going to have, Steve Austin, to come out of retirement and, wrestle Kevin Owens. It's going to be the Kevin Owens show segment. Is that going to boost ticket sales? I do not know. I mean, it is Steve Austin, and Steve Austin is a fucking draw. But let's be straight up. WWE, the main reason why they're getting so desperate is because they're not building legitimate new stars. The only legitimate star that they have right now is Roman Reigns. That is their legitimate mainstream megastar that they have. And to be quite honest with you, in my opinion, I mean, like, it's ridiculous that they have to rely on guys like Steve Austin. And Steve Austin turned it down, and he thought, diminish his legacy. And good for Steve Austin. Steve Austin even sees through the bullshit, and he's like, all right, no, I'm not gonna diminish my legacy by coming out of retirement. I'll have a segment, and it's gonna get physical, 100%. I think it's going to get physical. But let's be straight up, as much as I would love to see Steve Austin back in the ring, it's too little too late. And not only that, it's kind of desperate for WWE to ask a guy like Stone Cold Steve Austin to come out of retirement. It's ridiculous. WWE, make new stars, please. But yeah, man, overall, it's great to see Steve Austin back. Of course, he's going to be at WrestleMania because of the fact that WrestleMania is in Dallas, Texas. But great, fine. I'm happy about that. But let's be straight up. The majority of the WrestleMania card, like 3 matches, like 2 or 3 matches of the WrestleMania card are like celebrities. I mean, you got Johnny Knoxville in a freaking match. You got Logan Paul in a freaking match. Pat McAfee is going to be in a freaking match. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, Pat McAfee is part of the SmackDown commentary team, but in a way, he's somebody outside of the WWE realm. He has one of the top podcasts in the world. You know what I'm saying? WrestleMania. This is my thing on WrestleMania. WrestleMania is supposed to be your biggest show of the year. And, WWE this year are trying to be desperate enough to, try to get people to be interested in WrestleMania. WrestleMania, the main reason now why people buy tickets to WrestleMania is because of the fact of that it's WrestleMania. WWE makes their money on WrestleMania based off of WrestleMania's name value. That's it. WrestleMania is supposed to showcase the best, the best of your roster, the best of your current roster. Showcase, the best of the best. Showcase, the matches that you have. Like literally stack up the entire card and probably make it the best that you can be. WWE, in my opinion, does not have that, now. And it's a problem for WWE. And they have to act fast, especially when it comes to next year's WrestleMania. They got to build somebody against Reigns. But, to me, if you watched Revolution, right? If you watched Revolution this past Sunday, Revolution showcased the best of AEW's roster. It showcased the best of AEW's roster, and it showcased it really well. It showcased their roster really well, and, the way Revolution was booked and the way Revolution was is exactly what WrestleMania is supposed to be. But WrestleMania is not going to be that way. 3 of their matches are celebrity matches, which is ridiculous in my opinion. Their main event is going to be absolutely predictable, and I think the only 2 matches that I'm interested in is Reigns versus Lesnar, but we all know who the hell is going to win that match. And also Edge versus AJ Styles, which I 100% think is going to be the show stealer. WrestleMania is supposed to showcase the best of your roster, and the rest of the card is just absolute dog shit, in my opinion. That is just me. Now, granted, Austin Theory versus Pat McAfee I'm interested in, and, everything else I'm just, whatever. I just do not care about the rest of the WrestleMania card, in my opinion. WrestleMania is supposed to showcase the best of your roster, and, apparently, and really, WWE does not do that. But yeah, that was my WWE Raw review from March 7th, 2022. Overall thoughts on this show. It was not the best show, to be quite honest with you. There's very few things on the show that I actually liked. Some of the matches were really good. The segments, of course, the Edge segment was great. The Kevin Owens segment was great, but let's be straight up, WWE's getting desperate for WrestleMania. And it's a damn shame. To me, it's a damn shame because you are the industry leader, and WWE will always be the industry leader, but let's be straight up. I mean, come on, man. You're the industry leader, and you don't have anything to showcase the best of your roster. That is just my opinion. It's ridiculous. But, overall, Raw was really not that great of a show. And, that was my Raw review from March 7th, 2022. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the Broken Havoc podcast, right here on YouTube. Check out my Dynamite review, which I will be uploading tomorrow on YouTube. And this is Broken Havoc, signing out.